Om Brahmanandam Param Sukhadam Kevalam Jnana Murtim Dvandvatitam Gagan Sadrisham Tattvamasya Laksham Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatitam Trigunaraitam Sadgurum Tam Namami. Om. Adorations to Sadguru, who is Brahman, the giver of supreme bliss, embodiment of pure consciousness, one without a second, vast as the ether, infinite, eternal, beyond the three gunas and their modifications, the supreme preceptor. Viveka Chudamani, the verse number 2. In the first verse, it's prayer adoring Sadguru, and Brahman, the Absolute, who is symbolized in the presence of Sadguru. I'll just reiterate for you. I offer adorations to Sadguru Govinda, who is the embodiment of supreme bliss. And all this I have explained. Sadguru is always there in your heart, cave of the heart. Who is attained by gaining insight into the import of Vedanta. How to attain, even though he is present constantly, by gaining insight into the teachings of Vedanta, which refers to the end of Vedas and which refers to the Upanishads. The Vedas are the original texts. They were revelations of the sages. Though different rishis are named along with the mantras, the author of the Vedas is always understood as God Himself. Think of simple illustration. The law of Newton arose out of Mr. Newton. But the author of that law of gravitation is God. So no one actually claims to be the author of their revelations. Just for normal practical purposes, mantras are lined up either under Vasishtha, under Vishwamitra, and many sages and saints. There are women rishis also in the Vedas. That point I will referring for a purpose. So if you were to study the Vedas, as I was explaining, deal with 4 aspects, the 4 Purusharthas. Purushartha refers to self-effort. The goal of life is dharma, artha, dharma, ethical value, artha, material value, kama, fulfillment of desires, which is more of a social value, and moksha is the eternal, absolute, spiritual value. For attaining these 4 Purusharthas, the Vedas have shown 3 paths. First one is called karma, karma kanda. This applies to the masses. They are drawn to Vedas because Vedas promise, if you were to perform a particular yajna in a particular way, you will gain fulfillment of a desire, whatever desire. You want wealth, there is yajna for you. You want a child, there is special yajna for you. So different yajnas, they attracted people. But once you become involved with Vedas, the Vedas are not going to leave you. You are drawn to another aspect of the Veda called Upasana. Upasana Kand. Upasana means devout meditation. How to use mantras, and with the help of mantras direct your mind to an aspect of God. And that too can be for fulfillment of desire or for going higher. And the third dealt with Jnana Marga, the path of knowledge. And that third was elaborated as in the form of Upanishads. So all Upanishadic texts which have evolved out of the original Vedas, and they are part of the Vedas, but they are the end part. Like a tree that has grown up, it has many parts, but there is the end part where the fruits and flowers are gathered. Here we call Vedanta. Anta means the end, Veda, the Vedic wisdom. Consummation of the Vedic wisdom. So in order to be guided by the mystic guru within your heart, or to understand the teachings of the Vedanta, first thing you should know that this process, reaching out to Brahman, God, the Absolute, is beyond the reach of mind and speech. As long as you are looking for your goal in the realm of mind and speech, that is to say in the realm of the relative world, where mind is used, words are used, you will not gain it. All words and all the mystical literature has been created by sages to enable you to turn your intellect into intuition. It is through intuitive intellect there is a revelation. I am Brahman. All this is Brahman. That revelation is what people say, God's darshan. You have found God. You have realized God. But that's realization of God in absolute sense. Otherwise, there are many experiences where people maintain duality. When mind reaches a very high level of purity, there are stories of sages and saints. They play with Krishna, they talk to Krishna and some other deities. And if they start talking to them, ultimately Krishna advises them, attain God realization, attain self-realization. Arjuna was talking to Krishna all the time, and yet Krishna has to tell him, go to a guru, serve him in order to attain God realization. So you have to understand the difference. It's a great thing to have any type of darshan, no matter how transient the glimpse of God may be. It is a great thing, it inspires. But it's just like having gone to a temple and becoming inspired. But then it cannot stay with you, because it is not, any experience is an encouragement. It is not the goal. So there no one should develop that illusion that I have seen God, I did talk to Him. If you want to have a broader understanding, who else is there in this world but God? However, the most important point, in order to really attain that goal of realizing God, then use your mind and speech and your senses, use your whole personality. But don't look for that goal in the realm of mind and senses. The goal is transcendental. It should not confuse you. Even to experience the peace of deep sleep, you don't look for that in the realm of mind and senses. If they come around, you have to say, get away, I want to go to sleep. So only by transcending mind and senses, you can get into a deeper level of your being. This is day-to-day experience. Try to understand in a profound way. There is that special function of the mind. When mind is not restricted by ignorance, subtle desires, vasanas, there operates a special type of function called intuition. So people talk about intuition in ordinary way, but here we talk about it is a special Sanskrit word, aparokshanubhuti, intuitive experience. And that's the goal of listening, reflection, meditation, sadhana. Next verse, Jantunam narajanma durlabhamatah punstvam tato viprata tasmad vaidika dharma marga parata vidvat tasmat param atmanatma vivechanam swanubhavo brahmatmana sanstiti Muktirno shatajanma koti sukritai punyair vina labhyate. For all beings, it is rare to be born as a human being. Still more rare is to be a Purusha. People have been constantly translating it as a man, male. Rare to be a human being, rarer to be a man. The Orthodox pundits hold on to it. But you must realize Shankaracharya was not using that way. The very term Purushartha means the purpose of your manly existence. They didn't create another word for women, Istriyartha. But all were involved. In language, when someone, a lecturer starts saying, they always use the term he must do this. He must be a great hero. Even women, when they talk, they use he. So it is that sexist type, it's nothing to do with it. Whoever has the possibility of doing, the potentiality of doing self-effort, he is rare. Among all beings, to be born as a human being, that's a great attainment. Still higher, born as a human being with that potentiality of pursuing purushartha, self-effort leading to liberation, then you are a real man, beyond man-woman type. The real potentiality of a human being. More rare to be a Brahmana. Still more confusing. Even though you are a man and you are a human being, you still have to be born in a Brahmin family. How the difficulty is there in the scriptures. So Orthodox people will continue to hold on to every literally. But what it means that to be born in a religious family, where religious family can come from anywhere, can't be ordinary personality, family where Shabari type of people live, or any soul that has done great good deeds is born in a religious family. Wherever there is more favorable situation for moving towards God, more rare than becoming a Brahmana is to be the follower of Vedic Marga, which is, as I described, the path of the Vedas, the path of righteousness. More rare to have Paroksha Jnana of the Vedas. Paroksha means indirect knowledge, intellectual knowledge. First stage of knowledge is to learn, and it is through your intellect, but there also you have to be guided in a special way. More rare still is to have Viveka Jnana. Viveka Jnana is aparokshanubhuti, intuitive knowledge. As a result of intuitive knowledge, one becomes established in Brahman, what is known as Chitta Prajna in the Gita. And here it is called Brahma Sanstiti, to be established in Brahman. To be established in that awareness, I am Brahman. This blessed mukti is not attained unless one has earned the merits of countless births. This is the not ordinary goal. Even great personalities in any field, they have perfected themselves through many births. But this shouldn't discourage a person, because many births have been already gone through. You don't have to start counting, have I gone through many births? In the third verse, Durlabham Trayamevaitat Devanugraha Hetukam Manushyatvam Mumukshutvam Mahapurusha Sanshayah. Three attainments are extremely rare. They are possible only by God's grace. They are human birth, aspiration for liberation, and association with a great soul. That's association with Guru, under his compassionate guidance. These things are very rare. So, while as human beings, people are striving for so many things. For the masses, the general goal is to be extremely wealthy, prosperous. And whenever they turn to someone who has lots of money, say, what a wonderful life. Or anyone who has great power, great recognition. But those who are more sensitive and reflective, the real attainment is the ability to utilize your human birth, attain liberation. Three things, therefore, are extremely rare: have human embodiment, aspiration for liberation, and association with a great soul. All this becomes possible by God's grace. As you go on accumulating punya karmas, which means righteous actions through many lives, grace of God begins to trickle into your heart. Negative karmas will not give you that possibility. And grace of God takes four forms. First, Atma Kripa. Atma Kripa means your own grace. You must realize you are your best enemy or worst enemy, and you are your best friend. The inclination to attain liberation must begin with you, and that's called Atma Kripa. If that is not there, your own grace, all this sadhana will not be possible. Then Guru Kripa, the grace of Guru. In other words, having developed inclination for self-realization, you come into association with satsanga. You find a guide who can guide you to the study of Vedanta philosophy in a proper way. Third type of kripa is called Shastra Kripa, grace of scriptures. The scriptures are there, you may look through it. Oh, I read that last year. Tell me something else. Someone may come up with some very advanced, it's up to date, just like you have up to date computers, etc. Here is a Vedantic philosophy, more updated. That's again is a big illusion. But when you have received Shastra Kripa, the moment you turn your attention to the scriptural teachings, you are thrilled, you enter deep into the meaning behind the statements. And that's called Shastra Kripa. When you read the lives of great personalities, you hear how they have been inspired by scriptures. Few words sometimes become a powerful source of bringing transformation in life. In general, what I'm implying that we become more and more interested in studying scriptures, because scriptures become inspiring. Not only they inspire you, but we inspire others as well. Anyone who advances on the spiritual path inspires many others. And then Ishwar Kripa, God's grace. Of course, God's grace has taken all these forms, but then there is independent, more profound way God's grace works upon you. लब्ध्वा कथंचित नरजन्म दुर्लभम तत्रापि पुंस्त्वं श्रुतिपार दर्शनम यस्त्वात्ममुक्तौ न ययेत यतेत मूढ़धि सह्यात्मः स्वं विनिहन्ति असत्ग्रहात्. One may, by good deeds, attain a human birth with the potentiality of purushartha, of self-effort towards liberation, and may become equipped with the study of the Vedas, and yet may not attain liberation. Because equipped with the study of the Vedas, your study is only in intellectual level. But due to dullness of intellect, if you were not to strive for liberation, he is Atmaha, the killer of the self. For he kills himself by clinging to that which is unreal. Now let's follow all these. To become a human birth, to have a human birth, that itself is a great privilege. And to be able to study the Vedas, but along with your study, there must be practice of reflection. Later, these points will be made further detailed. Listening, the 4 stages in sadhana, listening to the teachings, called shravana, then reflecting upon what you have listened to, that's called manana. Then mind is allowed to flow to the absolute reality, Brahman. That's dhyana, nididhyasan, specialized meditation. And finally, as meditation succeeds, there is a gradual revelation of the self until you have fullness of experience. But suppose you stay in the first level, just you have studied a lot, you have become intellectual scholar, but we don't allow those what you know to trickle into your deeper level. In simple terms, it's said you have acquired tons of theory, but there isn't an ounce of practice. An ounce of practice sometimes excels tons of theory. It's just like a person has all types of cookbooks, most delicious things. Only one thing is lacks, no appetite. Therefore, striving for liberation, that's the most important objective of human life. How far you strive for liberation, that is the real purpose. If you have not, then this life will go on just like other lives have gone on. During your lifetime, you may have lots of thrill. You may have even attracted thousands of people, gained a lot of success. And suppose you may continue to do so for 100 births, which is not easy. But if you have not attained liberation, you are bound to create negative karmas, you are bound to go backwards. So you will go back again into lesser levels and go into museums and historical storage of books and read about the accomplishments who made. Even you may be fortunate to research into your very bones. Seems ghastly. But that's the predicament of attainments, human attainments, if there is no goal in view, if there is no liberation. And the scriptures use the term Atmaha, which means is a killer of his own self. It's a very serious type of statement, and general masses have to be well prepared to hear these, otherwise gives you an idea we are talking about serial killer. We have killed so many embodiments. By being ignorant, by avoiding higher truth, not because it is not available, it is there. The world is pouring in all the knowledge possible, but somehow mind is not alert. Mind ignores the highest goal. Simple thing, mind doesn't absorb it. simple thing is, anything you attain in the world is transient. So should your goal be a foolish fulfillment that I have attained so much in my life, I started like an ordinary poor, now person, and now I'm a millionaire, multi-millionaire. Should it be that way of thinking? But should you be thinking many, many rich and powerful people have gone into dust, and this will be nothing? What am I then? And since scripture say I am Brahman, shouldn't I direct my attention to that? Does that require a great sacrifice? No. It requires utilizing your energy, integrating your personality in a right way, and therefore your life will be exceedingly enriched. All that message behind it is, therefore, start enriching your day-to-day life. In daily life, bring in little japa, little prayer, little yoga exercises, relaxation, meditation. Spice up your life. And then see that day will pass most wonderful. As time passes by, you will not be hoarding a stress in your mind, but you will be accumulating love of God, divine impressions. All this process, no matter how long it may take, it doesn't give any problem to you. A fruit tree goes on growing. It may take many months, may take many years. But as long as you are in the process of blossoming and giving fruit, you are not experiencing any stress. Stress-free life. And that can be easily available for anyone. The right type of education and right type of association is needed. And that's the task of those who advance on the spiritual path, to promote that type of culture. Otherwise, the simplest fact is ignored by the mind. And a world of illusion opens up. Itah ko dvasti mudhatma yastu swarte pramadyati durlabham manusham deham prapyatra tatrapi paurusham. What greater fool? Who can be a greater fool than the man who has been blessed with the rare opportunity of the human birth? Opportunity where he has the potentiality for attaining self-realization. But he ignores it and doesn't strive to attain self-realization. So in scriptural terms, we don't measure success on the basis of how much you have attained in wealth and recognition by others, but how much you have ascended the ladder of wisdom. How much you have directed your effort for developing devotion, turning your actions into karma yoga, towards purification of mind, and thereby coming closer and closer to God. The entire process becomes extremely easy because divine grace backs you up. Any other project is not easy. There is a lot of illusions you have to go on building up to support yourself. People who gain some success, they have to go on displaying it, showing to others, ask them, am I successful? Wants to be recognized by others. In other words, there is no inner peace. There is shallowness. Vadantu shastrani yajantu devan kurvantu karmani bhajantu devata atmaikya bodhena vinapi mukti na siddhyati brahma shatantarepi. Let people quote the scriptures and sacrifice to gods. They may perform rituals and worship the deities, and yet there is no liberation for them, not even in the lifetime of 100 Brahmas, the creators. Very bold statement, but truth is always simple, bold. It's like saying, no, there is darkness in a cave. It has been for 1,000 years. And so many things people have done. They have chanted, they have prayed, they have shouted. But unless light comes there, even if they go on doing that millions of years, the darkness will not go away. Simple truth. If that goal is not recognized properly, then that's the predicament. People want to be happy, drive away all pain and sorrow. They want to drive away darkness, but they don't want light. And that miracle is not possible. You may quote the Vedas. That means theoretical language. Someone taught a parrot to recite the name, divine name. It took him a long time. So, the parrot started repeating Ram, 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 Ram. And the man thought, now that is, at least he has secured the liberation of that parrot. So one day during evening hours he was busy with something, and then suddenly he started hearing screeching sound, and when he entered there, a cat was going to jump upon the neck of that parrot. Of course, he drove away the cat. He realized that parrot didn't really learn the lesson. When cat comes, then divine name goes away. So if your spirituality is only in words, they will not help you in a deeper level. So you may quote the Vedas, you may recite the mantra, but at the same time must realize that in relation to mantras, etc., there is always a benefit, so not a total loss, because they are linked. Mantra links you to deeper understanding. There is a mystical power generated by it. But here is a proposition: if you are just gaining only in a verbal level, not any more, then the cause of your misery will not move away even in countless lives. Likewise, performing rituals. There are so many rituals are described for attaining certain objects of desire. There are so many upasanas, worshipping different deities for different purposes. Any worship has different levels. For masses, different deities are worshipped for different goals. Those who are advanced, they realize there is one God manifesting as different deities. So even though they may have different Ishtadevatas, deities, still their mind is towards one God. But as long as the worship is limited to sakamya, that's to say desire, and as long as you are generating good karmas, but not for removing the illusion that sustains your ego, you may go on doing so for countless lives. Liberation cannot be attained unless intellect undergoes a transformation, becomes intuitional. This is a Vedic statement. Na karmana na prajaya dhanena tyagena ike amritatva manashu. Not by karma. Karma means all types of actions that are meant to give you an egoistic satisfaction, egoistic reward. Na karmana, there is no way you can attain that goal. Liberation is not a result of karma. It is not a product of a project. It is not a fruit of a tree. Na prajaya, not by becoming a good household, entering to household ashram and having a good family, having wonderful children and grandchildren, that may enrich the society, but your liberation is not secured by that. Not by wealth. You can gain lots of prosperity, but all these are realities for the masses. Action. Generations of people around you, wealth, all this cannot give you liberation. Tyaga has to enter your mind. Tyaga is renunciation. Renunciation doesn't mean physically you turn away from things. It's a mental act. And that point will be elaborated later. Turning away from action and going somewhere in a cave, that is not called a renunciation from profound point of view. That's simply called inactivity. Activity and inactivity both are in the realm of Maya. Both create ignorance. Renunciation is beyond. Renunciation is that attitude, even while you are active, God is working through you. And even when you are inactive, you realize dynamic action goes on. You are an instrument in divine hand. Your mind in a state of calmness can bring out powerful radiations. Real sannyasa is beyond activity, beyond inactivity. For masses, there is always some illusion. In the name of renouncing, they swing to inactivity. And in the name of karma yoga, they swing to intense activity. All that will be explained later. Amritatvasya nashasti vitte netyeva hi shruti braviti karmano mukte ahetutvam sfutam yata. There is no hope for attaining immortality by means of wealth. In this world, general idea is rich men can do anything, can gain anything. That's a popular way of saying things. So why not buy liberation? It's a lot of money. Give a good contribution to an ashram. And get a certificate, a guarantee that the gates to heaven will be open for you. It is clear that karmas cannot be the means or cause for attaining liberation. In other words, no matter how much you achieve in the world by using your mind, your senses, your energy, you go on taking one project after another. But liberation is not in the realm of your projects and their fruit. Karmas have their purpose. They can purify your heart if your attitude to action is embellished by scriptural teaching. If your attitude changes, your priority should become purity of heart. And karmic process and its result is secondary. That's the theme of Karma Yoga. We will teach later and we'll continue. Om Purnamadaha Purnamadaha